You're listening to Secure Freedom Radio with Frank Gaffney from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C.
We're back, joined by one of America's preeminent experts when it comes to matters of the Middle East. He hails from it, from his native land of Lebanon. He is Walid Phares, a professor at the National Defense University and go-to guy for many of the nation's media who are at least occasionally interested in getting the facts straight on what is happening in a dynamic and, I'm afraid, increasingly dangerous part of the world. Walid, it's always good to have you with us at Secure Freedom Radio. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Great to be on your show, as usual.
Let's start with Syria. There's a lot to talk about in the region, but I know you're particularly following developments there. I'm hearing that we're seeing some rather unsavory sorts emerging among the leadership of the opposition to Assad. What is your take currently as to his prospects, I should say, for continued rule, and what might come next?
Well, for the Assad regime, a brutal regime from father to son, since 1970, nonstop engaged in, brutally repressing his own people, starting in the early 80s with the first massacre of Hama. Tens of thousands of people have been killed, but also throughout the years, according to all reports by all human rights groups, including our State Department, that regime has now reached the level of not going back, in the sense that Assad the son has decided not to engage in any real reforms, as the United States, France, the United Nations, and even Arab moderates have asked him. Besides, he called on the Iranians and on Hezbollah to lend him support in that brutal repression. We're talking about thousands of people killed on the streets. We're talking about more than 10 to 15,000 people detained, tortured, and beyond. Now, on the other hand, the opposition, Frank, is made of many people. And as in Libya, as in Egypt, as in many other places, we have a dual opposition. One, which is civil society. Most of the people we can see on TV without weapons, without Islamist slogans, rising against the regime. But we do have the Islamist networks, including the Muslim Brotherhood. So it's a game with three actors. That's why, unfortunately, the administration was not able neither to handle the regime, meaning call for its demise quickly and work on it quickly, and on the other hand, identify the democracy elements. So what we're having right now is that those who are leading the opposition, unfortunately, are the Islamists, the Muslim Brotherhood, with some of their allies, and they have included a meeting in Istanbul called for a national council whereby the civil society, minorities, Kurds, Christians, and others who also are rising against Assad have been ignored by the West. So it is tough. We have a bloody regime on the one hand, and we have ominous forces for the future rising against it.
Yeah. Walid, of course, as I said, you are from Lebanon. You are familiar with what the Assads have been doing, not just to their own people, but to the people of the neighboring state of Lebanon. Also, the implications for our friends in Israel, if this situation goes, I guess it's possible to say, from bad to worse. If you were president of the United States at the moment, what would you be doing to try to ensure that, to the extent you can influence these things, they come out rather better than worse in Syria?
Tough call, Frank, because if you or I were president of the United States in 2011, we need to go back to minus 10 or 20 points below zero for the last 2 to 3 years that have gone south in our foreign policy in the region. I mean, we have a revolt against Assad. We haven't been fast enough to identify the good guys and move forward with them. That was the opportunity we were waiting for many, many years. We have an expanding Hezbollah in Lebanon, which by the day is controlling more and more of that country with all what it means in terms of security, Arab-Israeli conflict, and beyond that. What we can do now, if we can, is to change the direction in Washington first. Without changing that direction, nothing could be done on the ground, which means that we need to call a spade a spade. We need to basically call on Assad to go, to quit. And we need to identify the good guys in Syria, to call on them to hold a convention anywhere they want in the world, to do with them what we would have done with Eastern Europe, meaning making sure that the forces of democracy are going to be winning. With regard to Lebanon, making sure that the Syrian revolution, NGOs and groups are the ones who receive our aid and support and recognition. So a lot of things that should have been done over the past 2 years have not been done. We need to reconnect, go back, clean up, and move forward. And from there on, it's going to still be dangerous, because Assad, while going down very slowly, it's going to take a long time, can ignite at any time with his Iranian and Hezbollah allies the front with Israel. Since you asked about the Arab-Israeli conflict,
yes,
it's getting very warm there. It's getting very dangerous.
We have to let it go at that. Walid, I thank you very much for this quick, insightful tour of a very important and increasingly turbulent part of the world. We look forward to visiting with you again in the very near future.